Welcome back, OUA football fans. Wade Zanketta, Connor O'Neill here with another OUA season preview. Today, we are talking about the York Lions. No guest for this one, just going to be us. We're going to have a conversation about the York Lions football program, kind of tee it up like we have been doing. Unfortunately, some things just fell through, unable to get a guest, so you just got us two today. Nonetheless, we're still getting a preview out because we got to get in all 11 teams. Can't do that. Can't leave one out.
I guess it's kind of a changing of the guard year for the York Lions, obviously with the exit of Coach Craney, the graduation of quarterback Noah Craney. This is kind of turning out to be a new look, new year, new prospects for the York Lions. Obviously headlined by receiver Alfred Olay, who we saw at the East-West Bowl this last year. Connor, I think with this team, one of the biggest questions is who will we see at the helm for quarterback?
Yeah, that was kind of my number one question here. Noah Craney not on the camp roster this year, as you did say there. Last season, next to Craney, Owen Webb last year had the second most passing attempts to Craney, but not a lot to go off of as he only had 16 attempts on the season last year, threw for 98 yards. So really, quarterback is a question mark for York heading into this season. They are going to be a young team. They are going to be under new coaching staff. So I'm curious to see what this team is going to look like if it is Webb, how that athleticism is going to look against what is sure to be a tough test with the Western Mustangs in week one and that aggressive front seven that we know so well.
At least they have one bright spot returning that we know for sure is going to make a huge impact. That's Melchus Alunga in the run game. Connor, he led their team with 86 rushes last year, uh, almost four times that of the next running back. Is it going to be exciting to see how he builds on a successful sophomore season as he goes into this third year with the program? I'm really looking forward to him. And like I mentioned off the top, Alfred Olay being really the big playmakers and giving this team a chance to push the ball downfield, to break off big runs and put some points up on the board.
Yeah, I want to stick on Alfred Olay there for a second. We mentioned he was an East-West bowler this year, had an impressive game there, did have a nice touchdown. And I think no matter who the quarterback is for York this season, Olay is surely going to be the number one target, the number one playmaker, the go-to guy in this York Lions offense. He had 276 receiving yards last year, but as a return man, to me, is where he was a game breaker, is where he really shone through. He had 1,377 all-purpose yards last year, 739 kick return yards, another almost 350 punt returning. He is an electric playmaker, and all you really need to do if you're the York Lions is find a way to get the ball into his hands, whether, he's taking snaps out of the backfield and you're being creative that way, or it's kind of a screen play or a mesh play or a deep shot, because he does have speed to burn and he can burn some of these DBs in the OUA.
Now let's flip over to the defensive side. This team obviously graduating a lot of highly skilled players like Matt Dean, Dawson Davis. But good news is, Connor, a lot of their playmakers were young enough to then come back with some eligibility. So Jason Janvier Messier, Mac and Cooper Bannatyne are all back for this team this year. In terms of defense, York's scheme gets so aggressive and they really force teams to make a decision on where they're going with the ball so quick that it really gives some teams fits. And with these guys coming back another year in the system, this looks like a team that defensively could be a handful for some offenses.
Yeah, another guy that you mentioned that I want to stick on here, East-West bowler, Jason Janvier Messier, four sacks last season, 8th in the OUA. He's a body up front. He is a pile driver, a body mover. He can get into the backfield and mess some things up. Another guy that I want to mention, East-West bowler for these York Lions as well, Nathan Brennan, 6'3", 310. Another guy that is going to drive the pile, that is going to create havoc in an offensive backfield. And when you have two guys like this up front, like the York Lions do, that creates very, very good things for your linebacking core, your defensive secondary. I mean, I know he's a leaguer now, but we saw a guy like Matt Dean from the York Lions program last year find some great success in the front seven behind these two guys.
Now, in terms of what this York team can do to change the outcome of some games this year, what is one area that you want to see this team really make great strides in?
For me with York this year, and it's a bit of a weird year, and it is a little bit weird saying this, but offensive consistency. I want to see sustained drives. I want to see them moving the ball downfield, keeping opposing defenses on the field, tiring out these opposing defenses. They have a great backfield with their running backs. Utilize that. Take your shots to Olay or whoever it's going to be, but keep your offense on the field, wear down opposing defenses, because in some games when we saw York find this offensive success, they were in great positions to score.
Yeah, 5 of 8 in the red zone. Pretty good percentage there in terms of getting some points up on the board. One area, Connor, I'm going to point to that they did quite well in. I think it could really help this team even more is, like you mentioned with Janvier Messier, is sacks. They're 12th in the country last year in terms of total sacks. And that's one area they're getting a lot of the same guys back. And it could be a really big beacon, I want to say, for this team to go where they get a sack here or there and put some teams back on their heels in some bad field position. And they can turn that into hopefully some points with their new offense.
Yeah, I'm with you. If they can control the game on the defensive side of the ball, utilize these big bodies up front, like Brennan, like Messier, they're going to create some problems for some opposing offenses. And I really do think that, and we've heard a bunch of coaches talk about this now as we've done these previews. The thing that is going to dictate success is line play, and that comes on both sides of the ball, offensive and defensive line. If you are more aggressive at the point of attack, whether it's with your defensive line or your offensive line, you are going to find success more often than not.
And with that being said, Connor, they open up the season at home against the Western Mustangs this Saturday before heading on the road for week 2. Looking forward to seeing the York Lions and the new outlook for this team. Lots of positive things going around the program right now as they look to start anew in 2023. So that's it for our OUA season previews. We are all ready to go for kickoff this week. Stay tuned and check out OUA.tv to make sure you can see all games all at once, all weekend long, all season long. Enjoy the year.